For decades, scientists described the brain as a biological computer. This analogy began in the 1950s when early computers emerged. Researchers noticed similarities. Both systems processed information using basic units. In computers, these were transistors flipping between 0 and 1. In brains, neurons appeared to fire in simple on-off patterns. The comparison seemed perfect. This computer model dominated neuroscience. Textbooks described the brain as input-output hardware running genetic software. Memory worked like storage drives. Thoughts were data processing. The approach produced real advances. It helped explain reflexes, basic learning, and some disorders. But cracks soon appeared. The first problem was speed. A neuron fires about 200 times per second. A computer switch operates billions of times faster. Yet humans solve complex problems computers can't. A child recognizes a face instantly, while powerful algorithms struggle. Artists create original works, but AI merely recombines. The brain clearly wasn't doing simple computations. Then came the consciousness issue. Computers process information without experiencing it. A camera detects light but doesn't see. A voice assistant parrots words but doesn't understand. Yet humans have inner experiences: the taste of coffee, the ache of loss, the color blue. No one could explain how physical neurons created these subjective feelings. Philosopher David Chalmers labeled this the hard problem of consciousness. Easy problems involve brain functions, how we store memories or perceive edges. The hard problem asks why any of this feels like anything at all. A computer could theoretically replicate human behavior while being completely dark inside. We know we're not dark inside, but don't know why. The computer analogy failed to explain creativity either. Machines follow programmed rules. Human thought leaps unpredictably. Dreams combine impossible elements. Jokes find unexpected connections. Insights arrive in showers. This suggested deeper processes at work. Some researchers proposed quantum effects in microtubules, tiny protein structures in brain cells. At small scales, particles behave strangely, existing in multiple states until observed. If this occurred in neurons, it might explain consciousness. The theory remained controversial, but highlighted how classical physics might be insufficient. The computer metaphor still lingers in pop science, but modern neuroscience moved on. Brain scans revealed waves of coordinated activity across regions, not isolated circuits. Memories proved to be reconstructed, not retrieved. Decision-making involved emotional centers as much as logical ones. This shift matters because models guide research. Seeing the brain as a computer led scientists to overlook its messy, organic nature. The next breakthroughs may come from embracing complexity rather than simplifying it. What replaces the computer analogy? Some suggest the brain is more like an ecosystem, diverse parts interacting unpredictably. Others propose it works like a musical instrument, producing experiences rather than computations. The answer likely lies beyond any single metaphor. The deeper lesson is that human thought can't be reduced to simple mechanisms. Our creativity, consciousness, and very sense of being point to something more. What that more is remains philosophy's greatest unanswered question. The story continues as we examine alternative theories that might finally explain the mind's mysteries. This isn't just academic. Understanding consciousness changes how we see ourselves and our place in reality. A computer can analyze light wavelengths and identify colors, but it never experiences what blue looks like. It can process audio waves and recognize speech patterns, but it doesn't understand the meaning behind words. It can be programmed to respond to damage alerts with error messages, but it doesn't feel pain. This is the puzzle David Chalmers called the hard problem of consciousness. Why does any of this feel like anything at all from the inside? For centuries, philosophers and scientists assumed consciousness would eventually be explained as a byproduct of brain processes. Once we understood enough about neurons and synapses, subjective experience would simply emerge from the complexity. But as research advanced, something became clear. Explaining how the brain processes information doesn't automatically explain why there's someone home experiencing that information. Consider vision. Science can trace the path from photons hitting retinal cells to electrical signals reaching the visual cortex. We can map which neurons fire when seeing red versus blue. But nowhere in this chain do we find why red feels vibrant and urgent, while blue feels cool and distant. The signals are just electrical pulses. The experience is something else entirely. This gap appears everywhere in neuroscience. Pain research shows how nerve signals travel to the brain and trigger responses, but not why these signals hurt rather than just register like a thermometer reading. Memory studies reveal storage and retrieval mechanisms, but not why we relive moments rather than just access data. The easy problems involve understanding functions. The hard problem asks why these functions come with an inner movie playing for an audience of one. Some argue consciousness is an illusion, but this doesn't hold up. Illusions are experienced by someone. Others suggest it's a useless side effect, but evolution rarely preserves energy-intensive traits without purpose. The most honest answer is, we don't know. And this uncertainty challenges our understanding of reality itself. Chalmers proposed consciousness might be fundamental, like space or time in physics. Just as gravity exists everywhere whether we measure it or not, perhaps experience is woven into the fabric of existence. This would mean even simple systems might have rudimentary consciousness, a controversial idea called panpsychism. Alternative theories explore quantum processes in microtubules inside brain cells. At tiny scales, particles behave strangely, existing in multiple states until observed. If this occurs in neurons, it might bridge physical processes and conscious experience. The mathematics works, but concrete evidence remains elusive. The hard problem exposes limits in our current scientific framework. Physics describes matter in motion, but says nothing about how matter becomes experience. Biology explains life processes, but not how they generate inner life. This doesn't mean these fields are wrong, just incomplete when it comes to consciousness. What makes the problem so persistent is its resistance to standard scientific methods. You can't measure someone else's experience directly, only their reports of it. Two people might describe red completely differently while using the same words. Unlike studying digestion or respiration, consciousness can't be fully observed from the outside. This leads to a radical possibility, that consciousness isn't something the brain produces, but something it receives. Ancient traditions spoke of the mind as a receiver tuning into thoughts rather than generating them. Modern versions suggest the brain might filter consciousness rather than create it. While unconventional, these ideas at least engage with the problem rather than dismissing it. The hard problem matters because it changes how we see ourselves. If consciousness is just brain activity, we might one day replicate it in machines. If it's something deeper, such attempts could fail spectacularly. The answer determines whether we're biological robots or something more mysterious. Perhaps the solution lies beyond current science. Just as relativity and quantum mechanics revolutionized physics when Newtonian models failed, consciousness might require entirely new concepts. Whatever the answer, the hard problem remains philosophy's greatest gift to science. A reminder that some mysteries resist easy solutions, and that's exactly what makes them worth pursuing. The story continues as we examine whether modern physics might finally provide tools to solve this ancient riddle. The implications stretch from artificial intelligence to animal rights, from medical ethics to what it means to be human. One thing is certain, any theory claiming to explain the mind must first explain why there's someone home to do the explaining. The rules change when we enter the quantum world. In our everyday experience, objects follow predictable paths. A ball thrown in the air traces a clear arc. But at the smallest scales, particles behave differently. They can exist in multiple states at once, pass through barriers, and influence each other instantly across vast distances. These strange properties might hold clues to consciousness. Traditional computers work with bits, switches that are either on, 1, or off, the 0. Quantum computers use qubits, which can be on, off, or both simultaneously through superposition. This isn't just theoretical. Quantum computers already solve certain problems exponentially faster than classical machines by exploring multiple solutions at once. Entanglement adds another layer. When particles become entangled, changing one instantly affects its partner, no matter how far apart they are. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance. Experiments confirm it happens faster than light could travel between the particles, suggesting our classical understanding of space and time is incomplete. Some scientists propose similar quantum effects might occur in the brain. Microtubules, tiny protein structures inside neurons, could potentially maintain quantum states long enough to influence neural processes. Their cylindrical shape and ordered water molecules might shield delicate quantum effects from the brain's warm, wet environment. This matters because classical physics struggles to explain consciousness. If the brain uses quantum processes, it might account for features like unity of experience, how separate brain regions combine into one conscious field. Quantum coherence could connect them. Creativity, the ability to generate truly novel ideas. Quantum randomness providing unexpected combinations. Intentionality, how mental states can be about things. Quantum information relationships mirroring meaning. Critics argue the brain is too warm and noisy for delicate quantum states. Yet photosynthesis uses quantum effects in biological systems at room temperature. Some birds navigate using quantum entanglement in their eyes. Nature clearly exploits quantum phenomena in warm, wet environments. The implications are profound. If consciousness involves quantum processes, 1. Artificial intelligence might never become truly conscious without quantum components. 2. The mind could have non-local aspects beyond the brain. 3. Our experience of free will might relate to quantum indeterminacy. This isn't to say the brain is a quantum computer. Rather, certain neural processes might harness quantum effects to achieve results impossible classically. The distinction matters. Quantum biology suggests evolution found ways to exploit these phenomena without requiring full-scale quantum computation. Experiments are ongoing. Some show anesthetic gases, which selectively turn off consciousness, interact with microtubules in ways that affect their quantum states. Others demonstrate that brain processes sometimes exhibit quantum-like probabilities rather than classical determinism. The quantum consciousness hypothesis remains controversial but productive. Even if wrong, it pushes neuroscience to consider more nuanced models than simple neural networks. At minimum, it highlights how much we still don't understand about how matter becomes experience. Perhaps the solution lies between scales, with classical neuron networks handling information processing, while subtle quantum effects generate conscious experience. Or maybe entirely new physics will be needed. Either way, the hard problem of consciousness demands we explore all possibilities, even strange ones. What comes next examines whether these quantum ideas could bridge the explanatory gap between brain activity and inner experience. The story continues not in abstract theory, but in concrete experiments that might finally illuminate this ancient mystery. The idea that quantum processes might occur in the brain gained serious attention when renowned physicist Roger Penrose teamed up with anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff. Together, they developed a theory called orchestrated objective reduction, or ORC-OR. Their proposal suggested that consciousness arises from quantum computations happening inside microtubules, tiny protein structures found in nearly all our cells, including neurons. Microtubules form the skeleton of cells, maintaining their shape and transporting materials. In neurons, they create intricate networks that might do more than just provide structural support. Penrose and Hameroff proposed these hollow tubes could process quantum information. Their theory suggested that quantum states could form within these microtubules, remaining stable long enough to influence brain function before collapsing in a way that generates conscious moments. This theory offers potential explanations for several puzzling observations. Near-death experiences, where people report vivid awareness during clinical death, might occur as quantum information in microtubules gradually decoheres, rather than instantly disappearing. The effects of anesthetic gases, which selectively turn off consciousness while leaving some brain activity intact, could work by disrupting delicate quantum processes in these microtubules. Patients under anesthesia often show brain activity but report no experience afterward, as if the quantum component of consciousness has been switched off while classical neural activity continues. Recent scientific discoveries lend some support to these ideas. Quantum effects have been found in biological systems previously thought too warm and messy for such delicate phenomena. Photosynthesis, the process plants use to convert sunlight into energy, relies on quantum coherence to achieve near-perfect efficiency in energy transfer. Certain birds navigate using quantum entanglement in their eyes to sense Earth's magnetic field. If nature uses quantum effects in plants and animals, why not in human brains? A 2022 study provided more direct evidence. researchers detected what appeared to be quantum vibrations in microtubules isolated in laboratory conditions. While this doesn't prove quantum processing occurs in living brains, it demonstrates these structures can support quantum states. Other experiments show that anesthetic molecules interact with microtubules in ways that affect their quantum properties, potentially explaining how these gases selectively suppress consciousness. Critics raise valid objections. The brain's warm, wet environment seems hostile to maintaining fragile quantum states. Decoherence, the tendency of quantum systems to collapse when interacting with their environment, should theoretically destroy any quantum effects almost instantly in such conditions. However, proponents counter that biological systems might have evolved mechanisms to protect quantum coherence, just as they protect other delicate processes. The debate continues, but the OR theory has pushed neuroscience to consider more sophisticated models of consciousness. Even if the quantum brain hypothesis proves incomplete, it has value in challenging the dominant computational view of mind. The theory bridges physics and biology in ways that could lead to new understandings, regardless of its ultimate validity. What makes these ideas compelling isn't just the technical details, but how they address the hard problem of consciousness. If subjective experience emerges from quantum processes rather than classical computations, it might explain why we have inner lives while computers don't. The qualitative aspects of consciousness, what red looks like or pain feels like, could relate to quantum phenomena that classical physics cannot describe. The story continues as researchers develop new ways to test these theories. Advanced imaging techniques may soon allow us to observe quantum effects in living brains. Quantum computers might help simulate neural processes at scales previously impossible. Whatever the outcome, the investigation itself is expanding our understanding of both consciousness and the fundamental nature of reality. This scientific journey reminds us that sometimes the most promising solutions come from asking questions others dismiss as impossible. The quantum brain theory, whether ultimately proven right or wrong, represents this kind of bold thinking. The willingness to explore unconventional ideas in pursuit of answers to our deepest mysteries. The next chapter examines how these quantum ideas might connect to other unexplained phenomena of consciousness, from intuition to altered states. The implications stretch beyond science into philosophy, technology, and our very conception of what it means to be human. For centuries, scientists believed the universe operated like a giant clockwork machine. If you knew the exact position and motion of every particle, you could calculate everything that would ever happen. This deterministic view left no room for free will. Your choices would simply be the inevitable result of prior causes stretching back to the beginning of time. But quantum physics changed everything. At the smallest scales, particles don't follow predictable paths. Their behavior contains genuine randomness. An electron isn't here or there until measured. It exists in a cloud of possibilities. This unpredictability isn't due to our limited knowledge, but is fundamental to how reality works. If our brains harness these quantum effects, as some theories suggest, it could resolve the ancient debate about free will. Classical neural processes might handle routine tasks and learned behaviors, the automatic routines you don't think about. But quantum processes could introduce an element of genuine novelty when you make important decisions. This doesn't mean choices are random. Just as quantum randomness underlies the stable world we experience, your will could emerge from these deeper processes. Your decisions would still reflect your character, values, and experiences, but not be entirely predetermined by them. There would be space for real agency in the universe. Consider how you make choices. Sometimes you deliberate carefully, weighing options. Other times, insights appear suddenly, as if from nowhere. Creative solutions often arrive when you're not consciously thinking about a problem. These experiences align with a model where classical brain processes do the computational work, while quantum effects provide the spark of originality. The implications touch everyday life. If consciousness involves quantum processes, then your most creative moments might occur when quantum superpositions collapse into new ideas. Meditation could quiet classical neural noise, allowing quantum effects to surface. Those gut feelings you can't explain might reflect quantum information processing. This perspective also changes how we view technology. Current AI systems based on classical computing may never achieve true understanding or creativity, only sophisticated mimicry. But quantum AI might someday bridge this gap, raising new ethical questions about machine consciousness. Your sense of self takes on new meaning in this view. Rather than being just a passenger in a deterministic machine, you become an active participant in shaping reality. Each decision creates a unique path forward, not entirely predictable from what came before. This doesn't prove free will exists, but it removes the scientific objection that the universe is completely predetermined. There appears to be genuine novelty built into the fabric of reality. How much freedom this gives us remains an open question, but it's more than classical physics allowed. The practical consequences are profound. If your choices matter in this quantum sense, then personal growth becomes truly possible. You're not just playing out a predetermined script. Moral responsibility makes sense. Your actions aren't entirely fixed by prior causes. The future stays open, not completely knowable even in principle. This isn't just abstract physics. It suggests that when you struggle with a difficult decision, that struggle is real. When you choose kindness over anger, that choice matters. When you create something new, you're tapping into fundamental properties of the universe. The story continues as we examine how these ideas affect everything from education to criminal justice. Understanding consciousness and will could transform how we structure society and relate to one another. The implications reach far beyond laboratories and lecture halls into the core of human experience. What remains is to explore how we might cultivate this quantum aspect of ourselves. How to create conditions where insight and wisdom can emerge from both our classical knowledge and quantum potential. The journey goes deeper into mysteries that have puzzled thinkers for millennia, but which may finally be yielding to scientific inquiry. The moment of sudden understanding arrives without warning. A problem that seemed unsolvable suddenly becomes clear. Connections appear where none were visible before. This flash of insight, what we call an aha moment, has puzzled scientists and philosophers for generations. How does the mind produce answers it didn't know it had? The answer might lie in the quantum nature of thought. Consider how creativity works. When facing a difficult challenge, conscious effort often reaches a dead end. Then, after stepping away, perhaps during a shower or a walk, the solution appears fully formed. This common experience suggests our brains continue working on problems beneath our awareness. Classical computing models struggle to explain this phenomenon. A standard computer either knows the answer or doesn't, but a quantum system could explore multiple possibilities simultaneously, then deliver the best solution when needed. Einstein famously valued intuition over pure logic. His thought experiments about riding light beams led to relativity theory, breakthroughs that came not from calculation, but from imaginative leaps. He described intuition as a sacred gift, recognizing its power to reveal truths that conventional thinking misses. This aligns with quantum models, where answers emerge from parallel processing rather than linear steps. Artistic creation shows similar patterns. Musicians describe melodies coming to them. Writers find characters developing wills of their own. Painters see compositions emerge from the canvas. These aren't mystical experiences, but demonstrations of how creativity operates beyond conscious control. Quantum superposition, the ability to hold multiple states at once, provides a framework for understanding these phenomena. The brain might maintain numerous potential solutions in quantum coherence before collapsing them into a single creative output. Scientific discoveries often follow this path. The chemist Kekulé envisioned the benzene ring structure after dreaming of a snake biting its tail. Tesla designed complex inventions in his mind's eye before building them. These cases suggest problem-solving occurs through means we don't fully understand or control. Quantum processes could provide the mechanism for this hidden mental work. Everyday intuition works similarly, that inexplicable feeling that something is wrong, the instant connection with a stranger, the gut decision that proves correct despite contradicting logic. These might reflect quantum computations occurring faster than conscious thought can track. While classical neural networks process what we know, quantum effects could integrate information in ways that produce insights beyond our knowledge. Education systems built solely on logical, step-by-step learning might be missing this crucial aspect of cognition. Schools train students to solve problems methodically, but real-world challenges often require non-linear thinking. Incorporating practices that foster intuition, meditation, free association, play, could develop this quantum aspect of intelligence. The implications extend to artificial intelligence. Current AI excels at pattern recognition, but struggles with genuine originality. Quantum computing might change this, potentially creating systems capable of human-like insight. But it also raises questions about whether such machines could develop consciousness alongside creativity. This perspective transforms how we view human potential. Rather than seeing intuition as unreliable or creativity as magical, we might understand them as sophisticated uses of quantum cognition. The brain wouldn't be guessing, it would be processing information through channels deeper than conscious thought can access. The practical consequences are significant. Trusting intuition becomes less about faith and more about recognizing a different kind of intelligence. Creative blocks might be overcome by allowing quantum processes time to work rather than forcing solutions. Collaboration could be designed to merge diverse perspectives into novel syntheses. What remains is to explore how we might cultivate this quantum aspect of mind deliberately. The techniques likely differ from traditional learning. Less about accumulating information, more about creating conditions for insights to emerge. The story continues as science investigates how to harness these capacities more effectively in education, innovation, and daily life. The mystery of creativity and intuition may finally be yielding to scientific understanding. What was once considered the realm of artists and mystics might soon be explained and enhanced through quantum principles. The implications stretch from how we raise children to how we solve humanity's greatest challenges. The mind's hidden capacities, long celebrated but little understood, may be the next frontier of cognitive science. The most advanced artificial intelligence systems today operate on principles fundamentally different from human thought. While AI can process information at incredible speeds, recognize patterns in massive datasets, and even generate realistic text and images, it lacks something we take for granted: genuine understanding. The difference may come down to how our brains process information at the most basic level. Current AI runs on classical computing architecture. These systems manipulate binary bits that are either 0 or 1, following predetermined algorithms. They excel at specific, well-defined tasks, but struggle with open-ended reasoning. When an AI chatbot holds a conversation, it's not comprehending the meaning behind words. It's statistically predicting what response fits the pattern. This becomes apparent when you ask unconventional questions or request truly original ideas. The system can only recombine what it's been trained on, not conceive something authentically new. Human thinking appears to work differently. Our minds make unexpected connections between seemingly unrelated concepts. We have moments of insight where solutions appear suddenly, rather than through step-by-step calculation. We understand context and meaning in ways that go beyond pattern recognition. These qualities suggest our cognition might involve processes more complex than classical computation can replicate. This raises a crucial question. If consciousness depends on quantum processes in the brain, as some theories propose, could classical AI ever achieve true understanding? Current systems might simulate aspects of consciousness without experiencing anything. They could pass sophisticated versions of the Turing test while remaining philosophical zombies, machines that behave as if conscious without any inner experience. The development of quantum computers introduces new possibilities. Quantum AI, running on qubits that can exist in superposition, might better approximate human thought processes. Such systems could theoretically hold multiple possibilities in mind simultaneously, experience genuine uncertainty, and arrive at solutions through non-algorithmic means. But even this wouldn't guarantee consciousness. We'd still face the hard problem of determining whether the machine actually experiences anything or just processes information differently. AI research might be missing something fundamental by focusing solely on replicating human outputs rather than understanding the mechanisms behind consciousness. We're building systems that can write poetry but don't appreciate beauty, that can diagnose diseases but don't fear death, that can compose music but don't feel joy. The absence of qualia, the experiential aspect of consciousness, creates an unbridgeable gap between artificial and human intelligence in their current forms. This limitation has practical consequences. AI systems make decisions based on correlations in data without understanding context or consequences. They lack common sense reasoning that comes naturally to humans. A self-driving car might perfectly follow traffic rules, while failing to recognize when those rules should be broken to avoid an accident. These shortcomings suggest we're modeling intelligence without capturing its essence. The debate goes beyond technical specifications. If we create a machine that claims to be conscious, how would we verify its experience? The traditional scientific method relies on observable evidence, but consciousness is inherently subjective. We accept other humans are conscious based on analogy to our own experience, but this approach fails with artificial systems that might simulate consciousness without experiencing it. Ethical questions emerge from this uncertainty. Should we grant rights to AI systems that might be conscious? What responsibilities do we have toward machines that could experience suffering? These aren't abstract concerns as AI becomes more sophisticated. The possibility of creating sentient machines forces us to confront fundamental questions about the nature of mind and our relationship to artificial entities. The path forward may require rethinking our approach to AI development. Instead of simply scaling up existing architectures, we might need to investigate entirely new paradigms inspired by biological cognition. This could mean incorporating quantum elements, designing systems with embodied experiences, or developing new frameworks that better account for subjective experience. What's clear is that human intelligence and artificial intelligence, as currently conceived, operate on fundamentally different principles. Bridging this gap might require more than technological advancement. It may demand a deeper understanding of consciousness itself. Until we solve the hard problem of how subjective experience arises from physical processes, we risk creating increasingly sophisticated machines that still lack the most essential human quality: the capacity to truly understand. The story of AI development is far from complete. As quantum computing advances and neuroscience reveals more about the brain's workings, we may discover new ways to bridge the gap between artificial and human intelligence. But we should proceed with caution, recognizing that in our quest to create intelligent machines, we might uncover truths about our own minds that change how we see ourselves and our place in the universe. The implications extend beyond technology into philosophy, ethics, and our fundamental conception of what it means to think, understand, and be. As we continue this exploration, we're not just building machines, we're holding up a mirror to the nature of consciousness itself. The answers we find may surprise us, challenging long-held assumptions about both artificial and human intelligence. The possibility that quantum processes play a role in human consciousness raises profound questions about the future of neuroscience and our understanding of the mind. To move from theory to confirmation, scientists will need to develop new tools capable of detecting quantum activity in living brains without disrupting normal function. This represents one of the greatest technical challenges in modern science. Current brain imaging technologies like fMRI and EEG measure large-scale neural activity, but lack the resolution to detect potential quantum effects. The next generation of quantum sensors may change this. Researchers are working on ultra-sensitive magnetometers that could detect the extremely weak magnetic fields generated by quantum processes in microtubules. Other teams are developing nanotechnology probes small enough to monitor individual neurons without interfering with their operation. These advances could provide the first direct evidence of quantum phenomena in brain function. Even with better tools, proving quantum consciousness will require creative experimentation. One approach involves testing how anesthetic gases affect quantum coherence in microtubules. Another examines whether the brain exhibits quantum entanglement, where particles remain connected across distance. Some scientists suggest looking for quantum signatures in decision-making by analyzing whether choices show truly random patterns or just hidden determinism. The ethical implications of confirming quantum consciousness would be significant. If specific quantum processes generate subjective experience, could we enhance or alter consciousness by manipulating them? Pharmaceutical companies might develop drugs targeting quantum coherence in microtubules, rather than just classical neurotransmitter systems. Such consciousness hacking could lead to unprecedented mental states, but also raise concerns about cognitive liberty and personal identity. Medical applications could be revolutionary. Disorders of consciousness like coma or vegetative states might be treatable by restoring quantum coherence. Enhanced quantum processing could potentially boost creativity, problem-solving, and learning. But these possibilities also carry risks. Unintended consequences of manipulating the most fundamental aspects of mind and self. The military and technology sectors would likely pursue quantum consciousness applications. Imagine soldiers with enhanced intuition or decision-making speed, or quantum AI systems designed to experience emotions and make moral judgments. The competitive advantages would drive rapid development, potentially outstripping ethical guidelines. Philosophical questions would demand attention. If consciousness relies on quantum physics, does this support panpsychism? The view that some form of experience exists throughout nature? Would it imply that sufficiently complex quantum systems automatically become conscious? These debates would reshape our understanding of life, intelligence, and our place in the universe. Religious and spiritual traditions might find unexpected support in quantum consciousness theories. Many mystical experiences describe non-local awareness and unity with the cosmos, phenomena that align with quantum entanglement and coherence. The intersection of science and spirituality could lead to new dialogues about the nature of reality. Legal systems would need to adapt. If free will involves quantum indeterminacy in the brain, how does this affect concepts of responsibility and punishment? Could quantum scans one day testify about a defendant's state of mind? The implications for justice and personal accountability would be profound. Education would transform if we understood how quantum processes contribute to learning and creativity. Schools might emphasize different skills and mental states to optimize quantum cognition. Teaching methods could focus on creating conditions for insight rather than just information transfer. The biggest question remains: if we prove quantum consciousness exists, will we ever be able to explain why it exists? Solving the mechanism might still leave us facing the hard problem of why any physical processes should produce subjective experience. The mystery of consciousness could persist even as we unlock its quantum foundations. What seems certain is that pursuing these questions will lead somewhere unexpected. Every major breakthrough in understanding the mind has changed how we see ourselves. Quantum consciousness could be the next revolution, with consequences we can barely imagine today. The journey to find answers may matter more than the answers themselves, as it pushes the boundaries of science, philosophy, and human potential. As research continues, we stand at the threshold of potentially discovering what makes us truly human, or realizing that humanness is something far stranger and more wonderful than we ever suspected. The story of consciousness is still being written, and the next chapters promise to be the most extraordinary yet. The possibility that quantum processes play a role in human consciousness leads to questions that reshape our understanding of reality itself. If the human mind operates through quantum phenomena, could this suggest something fundamental about the nature of the universe? Some philosophers and scientists have followed this line of reasoning to its logical extremes, arriving at conclusions that challenge conventional worldviews. Panpsychism offers one radical perspective. This ancient philosophical position, now gaining renewed attention from quantum theories of consciousness, proposes that mind is a fundamental feature of reality, as basic as space, time, and matter. In this view, consciousness doesn't emerge from complex arrangements of matter, but exists in some form at all levels of reality. The universe wouldn't just contain conscious beings, it would itself be a form of mind. This idea finds surprising support from quantum physics. At microscopic scales, particles behave differently when observed. The quantum observer effect suggests that measurement itself influences reality. In famous experiments like the double-slit test, particles appear to know when they're being watched, changing from wave-like to particle-like behavior. Some interpretations propose this indicates consciousness plays an active role in creating reality. The implications are profound. If consciousness helps determine physical reality, the relationship between mind and matter reverses. Instead of brains creating consciousness through complex computation, consciousness might be primary, with brains serving as sophisticated receivers or amplifiers. This aligns with certain Eastern philosophies that view consciousness as fundamental and the physical world as its manifestation. Quantum entanglement adds another layer. When particles become linked across space, changing one instantly affects its partner, regardless of distance. This spooky action at a distance, as Einstein called it, suggests the universe operates as an interconnected whole rather than separate parts. If human consciousness participates in this quantum network, It might explain phenomena like intuition, synchronicity, and the collective unconscious. These ideas challenge materialist assumptions dominating modern science. The conventional view treats consciousness as a byproduct of brain activity, real but secondary. The quantum perspective allows consciousness to be primary, with matter and energy its expressions. This doesn't require supernatural explanations, just a rethinking of how we define fundamental reality. The measurement problem in quantum mechanics remains unsolved. Why does observation collapse quantum possibilities into definite outcomes? Traditional physics has no answer. Consciousness-based interpretations suggest the observer's mind plays an active role in actualizing reality. This doesn't mean we create reality through thought alone, but that consciousness and reality may be inseparable aspects of a deeper unity. Critics argue these views cross into metaphysics. Yet the puzzles of quantum behavior resist conventional explanations. The hard problem of consciousness, why experience exists at all, may connect to these quantum mysteries. Both point to gaps in our understanding of how subjective experience relates to objective reality. If consciousness is fundamental, the purpose of the universe changes. Rather than being an accidental byproduct of physical laws, conscious experience might be central to existence itself. Evolution would be not just about survival, but about developing increasingly sophisticated forms of awareness. The universe would be less like a machine and more like a mind exploring its own potential. This perspective transforms how we see ourselves. Human consciousness wouldn't be an isolated phenomenon, but an expression of universal mind. Our thoughts and perceptions would participate in something far greater than individual experience. The boundary between self and universe becomes porous, even illusory. Ethical consequences follow naturally. If consciousness connects all things, harming others or the environment becomes a form of self-harm. Compassion arises not just from moral teaching, but from recognizing fundamental unity. Personal growth aligns with cosmic evolution toward greater awareness. Scientific investigation continues. Researchers are testing whether consciousness affects quantum systems. Others study how anesthetic gases disrupt quantum coherence in microtubules. Each experiment provides clues about the mind's relationship to physical reality. Whether these ideas prove literally true matters less than their value in expanding our thinking. They challenge assumptions, reveal new possibilities, and reconnect science with timeless philosophical questions. The quantum consciousness hypothesis, even if ultimately revised, serves as a reminder that reality may be far stranger and more wonderful than our current models suggest. The story of consciousness is still being written. As we probe deeper into quantum physics and neuroscience, we may find that the most mysterious aspect of the universe isn't dark matter or black holes, but the fact that it gives rise to beings who can contemplate its existence. This self-awareness, wherever it comes from, remains the greatest puzzle and the greatest gift. If your brain is a quantum computer, then every thought you have is a quantum calculation, meaning reality might be far stranger than you think. What do you think? Is consciousness classical or quantum? Drop your wildest theories below. We will wrap up today's informative conversation here. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more mind-bending content. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell icon. See you next time.